fresh off the G5 jet. I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
Welcome back, eSIM Studios Podcast Livestream, episode number 189. My name is Taylor Bell. Thank you for joining us today on this, what day is it? I don't even know what day it is. Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Pardon me. Been one of those days. Got a lot of news to get into. Updated our eSIM Studios app with all the news that we're going to cover today. And I can't wait to get into it. Now, remember, you can subscribe. So go to eSIMstudios.app. It'll ask you to install it like a normal app. So it's a progressive web app, a PWA. It can install on your phone, your tablet, your computer, just like a regular app. We update it behind the scenes. There's no updating it on your end. You just simply hit OK when it asks you, do you want to install? After, I think, 20 or 30 seconds of being on the site, it'll ask you, install it on your home screen. And then we update all the news, information, all the good stuff behind the scenes for you so you don't have to. And it's actually safer than a application on the App Store. Because every now and then some malicious apps get through to the App Store. Ours is much safer. Much safer. It's me doing all of the articles, content, all that good stuff. So you can trust me, right? Okay. Now, also wanted to mention, we are up to number 10. Number 10 in all technology podcasts. We're on the homepage of Samsung Podcasts. Thank you, Samsung. You know I love you. Always got your back. You always got my back. And we are number 10. Let's go to FeedSpot. So FeedSpot collects all RSS feed data and compiles it in the list of the top 60 technology podcasts in the world. We're number 10. I know, it's kind of hard to believe. Check this out. If we go to... Let me just show you real quick. Sometimes it's hard for me to believe it as well. But it's true. This podcast has taken off, and I was looking at my analytics. It's actually started to spread in Europe. So we're really, really big in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, and now Germany. We got a lot of listeners. Italy, a lot of listeners. So if we go here, check this out. I know this is not good for our audio podcast, but the point is, if you're listening to this eSIM Studios podcast FeedSpot, check this out. Top 60 mobile RSS feeds. I'm not in my browser to sign in. Son of a bitch. Okay, well, if you want proof, go to FeedSpot or Google eSIM Studios podcast FeedSpot. You can scroll that. I'm not on my browser that I use to sign in to FeedSpot. So, anyways, you gotta take my word for it, right? Of course. So, point is, you can get the audio form of this podcast on wherever you get your podcasts, right? Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio app, the application Pocket Casts. eSIM Studios podcast is on any and every podcast platform. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, check this out. I got some news here. Before we get into the news, right? So before we get into the news, I want to discuss so every year, okay, so check this out. So I've purchased every Pixel ever owned, every Nexus ever owned, basically every Samsung Galaxy ever owned. Not like, I've had one of the series, so S24, S24 Ultra, I've had S23, I've had the S23 Ultra, but dating back to like the S7 series, or no, take that back. Shit, I've had S1, S2, Anyways, point is, Pixel, it seems like most launches that Pixel has, that Google has when they launch the Pixel, there's always some debacle, right? So early on when Pixel was getting released, they simply didn't make enough. right? Their supply and demand was way off. So they would make a certain number of them, but they would get a ton more orders than what they made. So if you didn't order them, if you weren't one of the first few thousand or 10, 20, 30,000 people to order them on their website when they launched, you would be waiting for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, sometimes 2 months to get your Pixel, even dating back to Pixel 4, 5, 6. They simply never made enough Pixels. Their supply and demand numbers or estimations were way off. I remember having to wait a month, 6 weeks to get a Pixel. It was ridiculous. I thought we finally kind of got past that. It took them a long time, honestly, a long time to get to that point where when you order them, they'll be at your house in a week or two, right? Like any other phone that launches. Now, this year went pretty smooth, but in Google fashion, it was, didn't go exactly perfect. So here's my issue with the launch of the Pixel 9 series. The fact that the smaller Pixel 9 Pro is not going to be released. I was on their website thinking, damn, so when are we going to get ours, right? The earliest we're getting ours is September 18th. They have some colors and some storage options are backed up to November. And how they're not ready for a launch we've already got the Pixel 9 Pro XL. So what was the issue? I almost feel like we deserve a explanation. Some sort of PR statement, even on Twitter, Reddit, whatever, I don't care. Just something. Why weren't these smaller Pixel 9 Pros available at launch with the Pixel 9 series and Pixel 9 Pro XL? So if you didn't order a Pixel or you're not familiar, they released 4 devices: the Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9 Pro XL, Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Only the Pixel 9 and Pixel 9 Pro XL were available at launch, meaning when you bought them, they'd ship them out. The Pixel 9 Pro and Pixel 9 Pro Fold are like on a month delay. So the earliest you would get them is this. I told you this happens every time, right? I told y'all. It's like I'm cursed. Nothing happens all day. I'm working in dead silent. As soon as I hit the live button, my phone blows up. I got cats jumping all over my desk. So, real quick, here's my issue. Why weren't these smaller Pros available at launch? Because you get into this, do I want a small one? Do I want a big one? Well, it's almost like they're forcing you to buy the big one, but what if you want a small one? Now you gotta wait. You gotta watch all these reviews on YouTube. You gotta hear all these people say, oh, this phone is it's the best phone ever. Oh my God, this camera is insane. And you're like, whoa, what the hell? Where's my phone? So look, first world problems. I get it, right? When it comes down to it, it's just a phone. I understand. But look, there's reviewers on YouTube that already have the small one, the 9 Pro. There's podcasters, there's these bigger YouTube channels, they already have them. So it's not like Google did not make any of them. No, they have some made. Well, just ship what you have. And then, get in where you fit in, basically. But it kind of just bothers me a little bit that even on T-Mobile, you want to go in at T-Mobile, it just says coming soon. It doesn't even give you a date. So on the Google Play Store, the earliest you can get out of any color, any storage variant, the earliest you're going to get them is September 18th. That's 3 weeks away. The latest is backed up is till like late October, almost November, which is another 6 weeks or so. It's insane. I don't understand what's going on. Why push forward your launch date and only have 2 out of the 4 devices available? And then the Pixel Fold is not even going to be ready for another month or so, 4 or 5 weeks. What the hell is that? Then just have a launch 1.0 and a launch 2.0, basically. Like, it's not a good look, Google. Every single launch, there's always something that goes wrong, and this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So, glad I kind of got that off my chest. It's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. But it is what it is. Look, guys, this battery life on this Pixel 9 Pro XL, I haven't made any videos of it because, you know, it takes like a week for your phone to kind of adjust to your usage. It'll freeze some apps that you don't use, and you know it takes 7 to 10 days to really hammer out your style of usage, and then battery life should even out after the 10 days going into 2 weeks. So I'm probably going to wait in maybe a few more days. My device, I don't do anything extravagant on there, just multitask. Apps that I don't use that often, I saw in the settings already froze, so I think it kind of knows my usage already. So I'm going to do a battery life test. I'm probably going to wake up and just film my daily activities from 100 down to 0. I'm getting insane battery life. We're talking 9 hours of screen on time per charge. 9 hours. It's almost a battle just to get this thing to run to burn through the battery. It's that good. Depending on, now I'm also going to do a charging test. Depending on what charger you have, it either charges really, really fast, or it charges like the old Pixels, which is not that fast. However, Line Pro XL, it's got like a 5,000 milliampere hour battery. I can basically charge it from 0 to 100 in probably like 45 minutes. That's pretty fast for a Pixel. Now, actually, that's very fast. Considering Pixels of the past would take an hour and a half. I remember the Pixel 7 Pro taking an hour and a half to charge from 0 to 100. So there's 2 chargers, and I'll let you know what they are and where you can buy them. They're pumping 7 amps of power to this device. Full, almost 5 volts of power. I take that back. It's like 4.2, but 4.3. But that's more than usual. Most of all the other chargers that charge it kind of slower, like 3.9, 4 at the most volts, and then only supplying like 2,300 amps. I got 2 chargers in here that are pumping massive volts, massive amperage, and it's charging it very fast. Now, not OnePlus fast, but I think it's faster than the Samsung. It has to be, because I'm like, holy shit, this thing's already charged. It feels like I just plugged it in. So again, as I mentioned, every year they're starting to take away. You have a pros and a cons, right? A list of pros and a list of cons. Every single year they're taking 1 or 2 of those cons and moving them into the pros. So that just means this Pixel 10 next year should be the best phone in history, right? It should be the best phone ever if we get a couple more of those cons and move them over to the pros. So now, this phone is by far the best Pixel ever made. I'm enjoying it. I just desperately want to get the small one in here. If you're a Pixel fan, you've always wanted a small Pro or a small flagship, right? Always. So I've got a ton of cases. I got a stack of cases over here that these case companies are sending me. It's weird because they're sending me all the Pixel 9 Pro cases first that I can't even review. And I'm still waiting on Pixel 9 Pro XL cases. So I got a big ass stack of Pixel Pro cases that are just sitting here. I'm like, damn, where the hell is this phone, man? Okay, now that I got that rant off of my chest, let's get into the news. So we have S25 Ultra news. Now, a little update. Remember I teased a few weeks ago that Samsung was going to do rebranding of the Note. They're bringing the Note line back. But we just didn't know if it was going to be for this S25 or the following year, S26. Well, I got news and got confirmation from a second source. They're bringing back the Note line next year. Well, I guess technically the year after that, because they're releasing the S25 series in January. That'd be next year. But the S26 series is when they're bringing the Note back line. So you'll have the Note 26, I guess, instead of the S26 Ultra. It'll be the Note 26 or whatever it's called. But I'm excited. I thought they never should have separated or merged the Note into the Galaxy S line. I like it separate, right? The Note series is a classic series. The Note 20 Ultra is probably one of my top favorite phones of all time. Oh God, I do not want to get rid of that phone. So a little bit of news, but we have S25 Ultra news. We got iPhone 17 news. You're not going to want to miss, and a couple other stories. But let's get to it, right? So check this out. Let me share the screen here. So, oops. Let me refresh here. There we go. So, just like the... Time out. Before we get to this. So, here's the deal. I was thinking last night, you know what we can get a lot, some fun out of? I was thinking... So I'm going to get an iPhone 16 Pro, right? And it'll be our little secret. So I'm getting an iPhone 16 Pro and have all these Android devices here. So I think what I'm going to do, and this will be our little secret, right? We'll get a lot of laughs out of this because last night I was on Twitter and I was going back and forth with all these Apple fanboys. I cannot stand Apple fanboys. They think their iPhone is just the creme de la creme. It's the king of all phones, and everything else are peasants. And that's not the case. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Anyway, so I got into it with a few different people last night on Twitter. No need to show it. It's no big deal. But just telling them how basically their opinions are invalid. But you know what I'm going to do? It gave me an idea. So I'm going to get an iPhone 16 Pro. I'm going to buy it with my own money. But I think like the first week, right? So I got all these Android phones. So I was like, you know what I can do, what I can get back at them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make not like fake reviews, right? I'm not going to do that. But maybe for the first week or so, just totally trash the iPhone. Just say, look at this. Camera sucks. Look at this compared to my Pixel. My Pixel blows it away. Do that for each phone. Oh, here's the iPhone with the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Make a video. Look at this iPhone. Look at this cheap piece of shit. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the S24 Ultra. iPhone versus S20. Oh my God, this iPhone doesn't even compare. I'm going to do iPhone versus OnePlus 12. This OnePlus 12 just blows it away. I mean, look at my t-shirt today. Says OnePlus, and I'm going to be like, even the S24 Plus blows it away. I think I'm going to do that just to get under their skin. It'll be a lot of fun because I'm going to have tons of comments telling me how crazy I am, of what an idiot I am. You're an absolute dope. You're crazy. You're insane. I'm going to laugh so hard. So you want to just have a little fun with it, right? Because, again, I hate Apple. They hate me. So why don't we kind of play into that, that arena, right? And then, like, maybe when after a week after I have it, then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm just playing. So let's really compare them. Let me be honest, right? Why don't we do that? After the first week, I'm going to troll Apple and all these Apple fanboys. First week. And then second week, I'll give you my honest opinion. Look, if the iPhone does have better cameras, better picture quality, better video quality than the S24 Plus, I'm going to let you know, right? You deserve to know. But it'll be our little secret, the very first. And I'll remind you as we get closer to the launch of the iPhone 16 Pro, I'll remind y'all that take these first few videos with a grain of salt. And then the second week, I'll come back and give you my honest opinion. But I think that'll rub these Apple fanboys the wrong way. Okay, so check this out. You got it up here? Oh, here we go. Okay, so the S25. Now that is a legitimate look at what it's going to look like. Now, I believe I don't think these two sensors, this camera and this sensor, are going to be this low. I think they're going to raise them up equal with the very top sensor, because it's kind of centered with the middle sensor, main sensor. I think what they're going to do is take this sensor and this camera on the right, those small two ones on the right side, and they're going to raise them up and make them flush with the top level sensor on the left. But the squircle design of the cameras is a real thing. They're not going to be circled like this is. So you see how the S24 Ultra has complete circles? They're going to be in between circle, in between square, and kind of like icon packs, how you can choose squircle. They're going to look like that. Not circled, not squared, but in between, right? So that's a real depiction of what the S25 Ultra is going to look like. It's going to have flat sides. It's going to have flat backs. It's going to have curved corners, so not real sharp angles. Probably be a little more curved than that. But that's a true depiction of what it's going to look like, somewhat look like, right? But we got news today that this thing's going to be badass. So here is a real picture of what it looks like right here. Get a good look. That's the S25 Ultra. It's going to have super slim bezels, flat sides, rounded corners. It's going to look very, very, very nice, right? But we got word that the S25 is going to be thinner and lighter than the iPhone 16 Pro Max and Pixel 9 Pro XL. Thinner and lighter. So this Pixel 9 Pro XL, not a heavy device. This S24 Ultra, very heavy device. So somehow, some way, they're going to shave off weight. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe they're not going to make it titanium next year. I have no idea. Titanium is pretty heavy metal. But it's going to be thinner and lighter than the iPhone 16 Pro Max and Pixel 9 Pro XL. So that goes to tell you that's going to be that badass, because it's not a small phone. The S25 Ultra will be thinner and lighter than the top-end smartphones from Google and Apple. That's according to well-known leaker Ice Universe, who said the S25 Ultra will be the thinnest and lightest of all Ultra flagship phones. Flagship phones meaning your very, very top-of-the-line competitors in Android and for iPhone, right? It's probably going to mean also the OnePlus 13 as well. It'll be thinner and lighter, I'm assuming. Let's see. The S24 Ultra measures 8.6 millimeters front to back, meaning the thickness, and tips the scales at 233 grams. Pixel 9 Pro XL from Google, by comparison, is 8.5 millimeters thick and weighs 221 grams. So as you can tell, it's noticeably lighter, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, than the S24 Ultra, and it's a shade thinner. But Samsung looks to turn the tables, turn the tide on that next year. So we've got word that the width of the S25 Ultra is going to be 77.6 millimeters, which is from side to side. That's down from 79 millimeters on the S24 Ultra. So it's going to be a little thinner. I mean, a little thinner. Thinner. Jesus Christ. Thinner, less width, thinner, and less weight, if that makes sense. Sorry. So be on the lookout for that. That's all. That's pretty interesting news. I wanted to put that out there because, look, in Samsung, as you know, as all the other manufacturers leak info to certain tipsters that they have behind the scenes connections with. Ice Universe on Twitter does a lot of Samsung tips. So he apparently knows somebody on the inside, somebody from Samsung's PR team, and they will leak him info, and then he will put it out. That's how it works. Because remember, they want you to not buy a competitor's phone. Remember, iPhone's coming out here in a week or two. Remember, the Google Pixel just launched. So Samsung wants to put this news out here to make you think twice about buying the competitor phone. Be like, you know what? I'm going to wait for the S25 Ultra. That's exactly what they want you to do. So that's why they're kind of putting out this info like, hey, ours is going to be lighter, ours is going to be thinner, and better than any other phone. So, and it will house that new Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 CPU. Cannot wait to get my hands on that. Now, speaking of 8 Gen 4 CPU, the OnePlus 13 is going to have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4. It's also going to have a huge battery, but they are making a camera change, so we don't know if they will continue the phenomenal pictures that this OnePlus camera puts out. We just don't know yet how this new sensor is going to behave, but good news is that it's going to have a whopping 6,000 milliamp per hour battery. 6,000. Most flagships are capped out at 5,000, so this is a huge increase. This is not a 100 milliamp per hour increase. This is not a incremental increase. This is a huge jump in battery size. Now, OnePlus patented a new battery. It's called I forgot the name of it. Let's find out. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And they're going to implement that new battery technology inside. So it basically allows you to incorporate more milliamp per hours inside the same capacity battery that you'd see the 5,000 milliamp per hour battery. So they're basically condensing everything in that 5,000 milliamp per hour battery capacity. But remember, when they're condensing it, they're putting more in there. So it's going to be the same size battery, but instead of 5,000 milliamp per hour, it's going to be 6,000 milliamps per hour. Which should mean the battery life on this, if you have a OnePlus 12, you know how well this battery life is. The Pixel might beat it. I know my Samsung S24 Ultra, okay battery life. Pixel 9 Pro XL blows it away. I'm going to do a battery drain test here in the future between the OnePlus 12 and the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Should be a good matchup. Glacier Battery Tech. That's what it is. Glacier Battery Tech is the new OnePlus battery. OnePlus has stated that the new battery features 100 watt fast charging and can go from 0 to 100 in just over 36 minutes. Now, I don't even know that's correct because, well, actually, you know what? That is pretty freaking fast because the typical OnePlus battery that's 5,000 milliamp per hour goes 0 to 100. Remember, 5,000 goes 0 to 100, charging it in like roughly 30 minutes. So they're charging a whole nother 1,000 milliamp per hours and just adding on another 6 minutes. So that's a very, very, very fast charging battery. And it also says that they are developing a 7,000 milliamp per hour battery, but that's not going to be out for the OnePlus 13. You're probably going to see that implemented in the OnePlus 14. Now, this is where the latest leak slightly gets kind of disappointing in its latest claim that the OnePlus 13 will have the same LYT808 main camera sensor as the OnePlus 12. Not a big bummer because I actually kind of like it when these companies don't make all of these changes. Now, this carryover sensor for the OnePlus 12 is a 50 megapixel f1.6 camera. I don't think it's that bad of a deal because it gives the companies like OnePlus. You remember Google used that 12 megapixel sensor in the first gen Pixel all the way to like the Pixel 6 or Pixel 5 was the last time they used that 12 megapixel. They used it for 5 years, 5 generations, the same sensor for 5 years in a row. They squeezed every bit of juice out of that sensor, meaning every tweak they could over those 5-year span. That's a legendary sensor, and it's good for these developers, for Google, for OnePlus, for Samsung. If they change sensors every single year, it's just something else they have to learn. They have to learn how to code. They have to learn how to tweak these camera sensors, and they may not have it just right out the box, right on launch. It might take them I don't know, 4 to 6 months to really dial in and get a fantastic looking shot out of these sensors. So the fact that they're staying with the same sensor as the OnePlus 12, not bad news by any means. It just means that they'll be more used to it and know exactly how to tweak it, especially when it comes time to add new software, right? When moving from Android 14 to 15, you don't want an all new sensor, because then you have to write all new code and test, do a whole bunch of testing. If you have the same sensor, you basically know how it performs under different scenarios and situations. So I don't think it's a bad thing. The OnePlus 12 camera is better right now than the S24 Ultra. The only thing that beats it is this new Pixel 9 Pro XL. So not shabby by any means. It takes badass pictures. All right, so check this out. Before we end the show, I get two iPhone news articles. So before we get into the spec one, I want to get in to some trolling and just show you how far behind Apple Intelligence is from Google Intelligence, right? So Apple Intelligence, they have this thing called Cleanup, right? It's a cleanup tool. Sort of like Magic Eraser in the Pixel devices. The Pixel introduced that years ago. Sort of like the, what do they call it in Samsung? Lasso, where you circle something and erase it. Apple has the same thing. It's called Cleanup, a cleanup tool. So if you take a photo, as you can see right here on the screen, 3 kids in the original photo on the left, and then the photo on the right. Oh well, let's go back to the photo on the left. They circle the taller kid out of the 3 to erase him and just leave those 2 girls. Well, look how bad of a job it does. Now, it's not. I've seen. Look, that's pretty bad. I know if Google took that same photo, it would look pretty good. Now, you can see here where it's glitched, right? Can I zoom in on this? Damn it, I can't. So anyways, her arm is around the boy, right? So that has to be erased. So I get that. Her arm's not going to be there when you erase it. But look, you can tell where it essentially took this frame and cut it right down here. And then right here, they cut it on the right behind them. You see how bad that is? And then on the left here, you can see where they stitched the photo together. That looks horrible for 2024. That's one of the tests I'm going to do when I get the iPhone 16 Pro, because that looks like complete shit. Horrible. Samsung would do a better job. Samsung's really increased their digital AI photography when it comes to things like Magic Eraser. They've come a long way. Google is still the master at it, still the best. I was just testing it earlier today. Does a fantastic job of filling in stuff behind whatever you erased, magically fills it in like nothing was ever there. It's totally amazing. This looks like complete trash. So iPhone, you got a long ways to go when it comes to this AI stuff. So I put a little article there kind of laughing at them and saying, you got a long ways to go. But they did release iOS 18.1 Beta 3. So along with this new cleanup tool, which was just released, I think yesterday, iOS 18.1 Beta 3, they also had a couple of other features. So the notification summary feature that was previously working for mail and messages now works for all of your apps. So you can see summaries in both multiple incoming messages and single notifications, giving you more information at a glance. Also, in the Messages app, you can now use third-party stickers inline like emoji. This is a feature in prior betas, but it only worked with stickers from Apple apps and stickers you created from photos. So they also added those couple of features in there for the handful of Apple fanboys that are watching. Now, I do have some good news if you're an Apple fan, though. So check this out. Got some big news here. iPhone 17, so not this one that's getting released here in a couple weeks. We're talking about a year from now. iPhone 17 series is to feature 12 gigabytes of RAM, which is up from 8 gigabytes in iPhone 16 models. So Apple, as you know, has been stuck on the same design for years. They've been stuck on the same hardware internals for years, minus the CPU. The CPU is their one knight in shining armor that they lean their hat on, because it has traditionally been always the best and most powerful and efficient. But not in this 15 Pro. It overheats and throttles. But you get the point, right? They've always produced a very strong, very efficient CPU. But everything else, basically, just carryover, right? So they were stuck on 4 gigs of RAM for, 5-6 years. Then they had to bump it up to 6. And finally, we're like, finally, these idiots. And now you see them having to bump it up to 8. And that's because of the AI, right? But we got word today that they are putting a 12 gigabyte stick of memory in iPhone 17 model. So a year from now, they're going to increase the RAM even more. Why are they doing that? Well, that's probably because here in the next year, their AI models, the AI functionalities in iOS is just going to increase like with everything else. So you got to have the extra RAM. The CPU produces more than enough power to handle all these AI tasks. It's not the CPU that's in question. It's the RAM, right? It's the RAM, random access memory. So it retains all of this memory, all of this AI stuff that you're doing. If you're flipping between, if you got like me, right? You have like 20 apps open in the background. And then there's 2 or 3 main apps that you're working out of that you constantly flip back and forth from, and you're copying this, cutting this photo out, gluing it in here, modifying that. That uses a lot of RAM, because not only does it have to automatically pop up on the display the application and all of the data it's been holding in that application for you to multitask. What if you go to your recents and pull up an app that was 20 apps down, right? And you pull that back. Well, you want all the app data to be there as well, right? You don't want to start over with a app and you lose all of your stuff before saving it, right? So that's the same principle, same thing with these iPhone models. So iPhone, look, I don't know. I haven't had heavy multitasking. I guess we'll find out here in a few weeks how it goes. But the iPhone 16 Pro, actually, I think all the iPhone 16 models are getting 8 gigs of RAM. But that's still not enough, right? So that's why they're increasing it to 12 for the iPhone 17 series. And don't forget, iPhone 17 Air is going to be that new model that everybody's heads are going to explode when they see it. It's going to be that super, super, super thin one. So 12 gigs of RAM, iPhone 17 next year. Look forward to seeing that. Look, I know I troll Apple a lot. I know I make fun of them all the time, but I'll always say, I'm going to be honest. So I'm happy to see them step up their game when it comes to RAM or any other major component inside the device, right? That's big. They've been needing to do this for a long time, and they finally stepped it up. Look, Google just jumped from 12 gigs of RAM in the last Pixel 8 Pro to 16 gigs of RAM in this Pixel 9 Pro and Pixel 9 Pro XL and Pixel 9 Pro Fold. So Samsung is putting 16 gigs of RAM as well in the S25 series, or S25 Ultra. So the more RAM, the merrier. Now, you can also add virtual RAM in Samsung and OnePlus. OnePlus has 16 gigs of RAM. Also added another 12. So as you can tell, I mean, these high-end Android phones are pushing, over 20, sometimes mid-20s, almost 30 gigs of RAM now in these phones. Well, again, it's good for AI. So these iPhone users will have to get used to it. So anyways, let me get out of here. I've been on here for way over my limit for about 45 minutes. So let me get out of here. Catch us tomorrow. Now, again, and we'll bring all the latest news and tech headlines and discuss that. But tomorrow I'm going to probably do a battery either charge or drain test on the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Again, charge is very fast. I found 2 chargers in here that charge it with 7 amps at like 4.3 volts, which is very fast for those that don't know. So join us tomorrow and we'll discuss it tomorrow. I'm going to leave. Peace out.